Hello, my name is Tanner Wilson, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the rank structure and pay systems of the United States Army. Our Army is a well-oiled machine based solely on procedures, systems, and rank. Now, this rank can be different because there's two main sides of the Army. There's the enlisted side and there's the officer side. The officer side generally has more responsibilities in terms of taking care of your men, leading them into battle, making sure everything's done in a certain way with certain orders and certain procedures. And the enlisted side is more about getting the mission done by doing the grunt work, by going out and actually getting the bad guys, completing the mission, then returning home. This has pros and cons for each side. For the enlisted side, the pro is that you generally have more physical work with, like, you get to go and travel, you get to actually experience what the Army's all about. One of the negatives, however, is that you have less of a pay. On the officer side, you pretty much just sit in meetings, you write up a bunch of papers, upwards, and the perk for that is you get more pay. Now, into terms of rank structure, we have the enlisted side. If you start out on the enlisted side, you'll probably start out as an E1 or a private no rank. A private no rank generally makes $20,000 a year. It's not the best, but it's something. Responsibilities as a private are generally going to be to do chores and follow out whatever your sergeant and other NCOs tell you. Your NCOs are going to be your non-commissioned officers, which will be your E5s and above. Your E5 is your sergeant, and that goes all the way up to E9, and E9 plus, which would be your sergeant major of the Army. Whenever you finally make your NCO at E5, you become a non-commissioned officer. Your pay is generally higher. You have more responsibilities. Generally, as a E5 sergeant, you will be taking care of a team, maybe a squad. And the retirement, usually on the enlisted side, is around E7, which would be your sergeant first class. Sergeant first class generally makes somewhere around 40,000, I believe. And that, whenever you get retired, you would be making half of that, which would be 20,000 a year. Now, whenever it comes in terms of retirement, your retirement is half your base pay after 20 years. Every year after 20, your retirement goes up by 5%. So say you were in the Army for 21 years. Instead of getting 50% of your base pay as your retirement funds, you would get 55% of your base pay. Now, we're going to go ahead and move on to the officer side. On the officer side, you start out as a second lieutenant. The thing with second lieutenants is that they go into their positions as PLs or platoon leaders, and they will enter you in. Usually there's going to be one of two thoughts of thinking whenever you become a platoon leader. You will think, I'm the most experienced, I'm going to lead this platoon, I was trained to do this. You're going to be kind of overconfident. The other more preferred attitude to look at is to be like, hey, all of these guys have actual prior experience in the actual Army, whereas I've just read books and taken classes. So one thing you want to do as a second lieutenant is be really open to your NCOs, because you will be assigned an NCO. Your NCO is going to be the person that has all the experience. It's the person you go to whenever you have questions. You want to know better on how to operate your platoon. You want to know what you have to do for your platoon. And the thing with second lieutenants is that they don't really have any respect. They don't get respected by their troops. They don't really like them because a lot of them come out cocky and overconfident. The thing with a second lieutenant is you start at 40,000 a year, whereas the privates start over at 20. And you will be looking to make captain in somewhere at about 4 years. Now, whenever you finally make captain after those 4 years, sometimes 5 years, you will have to go to Captain's Career Course, which is served at the Army War College. It's about a 4-year program. It helps you learn the duties of your staff position. And captains make around 60,000 a year. And then in terms of officer side, whenever you retire, usually people on the officer side retire around 05 or lieutenant colonel. And lieutenant colonels make roughly 70,000 a year. So again, in terms of retirement, you would half that, making 35,000 a year as your retirement funds. And now finally, if I have got enough time, I'm going to try and mention to you guys some stuff about the Army element structure. So in the Army, you've got different elements of size, and each element up in the tier is made up by like 3 to 4 of the lower tier. So it starts off with teams, which are 4 to 9 people. Then you have your squads, which are 3 to 4 teams. No, 2 teams. And then you have your platoon, which is 3 to 4 squads. And it keeps going up in that same amount of structure, because each person that's in charge of that smaller element, you want the person in charge to only be in charge of 3 to 5 people. That way it keeps things streamlined in the chain of command. But that's all I got for you guys. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'll try to help you out with anything if you have any questions. That's all.